Hi, and welcome to Full Court Library Presents The Library Access. I'm your host, Rachel Sanders. The month of February is known for its celebration of love, culture, and of course, Black history. During February, Full Court Library offered many educational and entertaining programs such as movies, crafts, and more. In honor of Black History Month, the Central Library hosted its first of many Library Out Loud Presents Rhythm and Rhymes, a celebration of Black excellence through spoken word.
Words blow like the wind, making the ground below you shivering, hearts around you quivering, listening to the power of the words you're rendering. There's a poet, sometimes angry Black woman, or...
Hi, my name is Queen Sheba, and we are at the Fulton County Library System, downtown Atlanta, which I'm very excited that they are back open after being closed for so many years. They've been back open for 4 months, and we're having an open mic contest where we're giving away $100 to the best poet. Black History Month is significant to poets and poetry because the ancient griots are storytellers, and they would go to the kings and queens, and that is how they would spread the news of the land and what was happening with the people, be it good, bad, ugly, happy, sad. And so that is what modern day poetry is. We are here to be the voice of the people. I'm a 20-year veteran spoken word artist. I'm Grammy nominated as of 2021. Spoken word brings the community together because it gives the youth an opportunity to express themselves. It keeps them off the streets. It prevents them from selling drugs or doing illegal activity. When they have an outlet that is productive and safe, and they are in a safe space, we find that it helps lower the dropout rate for schools, and it makes them interested in learning and research. And if you can write a good poem, you can write a good analytical paper. So we hope that it helps children stay in school. So we'll be here every second Saturday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we're also looking for featured poets. If you're traveling, or if you're a youth poet, or if you're in college, or if you're a veteran poet, we'd love to have you come and share your work.
In the month of February, we also celebrated the Chinese New Year. We got a chance to stop by our Northside Library to hang out with John as he taught us more about this celebration. Let's check that out.
The Lunar New Year originated in China, and it has spread through much of Asia, Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia all celebrated. Mainly it's just Japan that still does now does the solar calendar along with the Western world. I'll be showing a video about the story of Nyan, the monster who would show up on New Year's Day, and the villagers would have to hide from Nyan until a wise old man showed up and said, "I can solve your problems." And he made Nyan run in fear with the color red and loud noises and fireworks. A big part of the celebrations are the dances with giant puppets representing dragons and lions. And I have a couple of crafts here today for children to make small representations of dragon puppets, and I'll be showing them some clips of the traditional and competitive lion and dragon dances that are performed as part of the New Year Festival, along with some picture books and chapter books by authors from these backgrounds. And I also have some Chinese candies, which some children might not be familiar with, but they generally do like them. So this is the first time I've been able to do it in 3 years, so I'm very glad to bring it back. I'm Jay Naj at the Northside branch, and we're looking forward to having Lots of fun programs this year for all ages.
Remote learning is hard. Remote learning for early elementary is really hard. Because most digital content available either skews too advanced or not advanced enough to keep K through 3 students engaged for longer than 5 minutes. You could create your own content, but that can be exhausting. Trying to cater to each of your students' developmental needs. There's an easier way with Pebble Go, the curricular content hub specifically designed for K through 3 students. Packed with over 1,500 articles and counting that include ready-made activities and literacy supports, Pebble Go boosts engagement and fosters independent learning in core subjects like science, social studies, and health. Regardless of their reading level or curriculum needs, there's no hand-holding with Pebble Go's simple, consistent navigation and natural read-aloud audio. Students are self-directed and motivated to dive deeper with related articles, interactive lessons, videos, games, and more, which they can access anywhere, anytime, on any device. Make the most of remote learning for your early elementary students by empowering them with Pebble Go. Get your school started today at pebblego.com.
Pebble Go is one of our many free digital resources available to you with your library card. You can check out Pebble Go and more resources by visiting us at focallibrary.org, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Library Access. As February comes to an end and we enter March, it's important to acknowledge and recognize newer days of celebration. For instance, did you know that March 1st is National Black Women in Jazz and the Arts Day? Well, we got a chance to catch up with the Black woman in jazz radio show host Masani. Here's that interview in parts.
Hey everybody, I would like to welcome a very special friend, former colleague. We've gone back so many years. I'm super excited that she's here. I call you a famed jazz radio show host, and you are Masani, everybody. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. I'm honored to be here.
You know, it's so interesting. As I was looking for content, I was looking at, what does the month celebrate? Like, we know that February is Black History Month and March is Women's History Month, but I was so interested to find out what March 1st is. So March 1st is National Black Women in Jazz and Arts Day. Did you know that?
This is something, it's relatively new, and I'm excited about it because I hope it will expand, into more than one day, but it's great.
I want to know about your career as a jazz radio show host.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it short, but music has always been a huge part of my life. My dad was a part-time musician, and jazz was always a part of everything, parties, fun. But when you're become a teenager, you kind of reject the music of your parents and grandparents. So I had my time away from jazz, but I also had my time in music. I was in the band. I played the trombone, but at my school.
Me too.
Oh, you did? See? Trombonist. So, but they made us choose. They made you choose whether either you could play an instrument or you could sing. And I wanted to sing because just the kids that I knew that were singing were doing more traveling and that's how I got to tour Europe and do some other great things. So that's the start. That's the beginning. So let's fast forward way to, because I'm from New Jersey, but ended up in Georgia, and some friends of mine and I started a small nonprofit called E22. And we did monthly events celebrating jazz artists and using local artists we'd have this really cool events. And, so that was just a taste of, putting together events. And that's where I got to meet Atlanta's jazz community, right? So fast forward from there, I end up at Georgia Public Broadcasting. I'm doing managing customer service and fundraising and doing, all kinds of stuff. And our deputy director just came to me on a whim and he just said, "Hey, I know you love jazz," just because he would walk by my office and hear the music playing or whatever. So he knew I love jazz. He said, "Would you like to learn to do radio? I need somebody to back up our jazz." So I was like, "Yeah, of course." And so the existing host was actually the programmer at WCLK, Atlanta's jazz station, Bill Clark, rest in peace, because he trained me. And after a month, he said, girl, you don't need me. He quit. And they gave me the show. And they let me make it my own. So that was in 2001. I turned it into the Jazz Spot. And I had 4 hours to stretch out. And I played every kind of jazz I could think of because I knew we had a wide audience at Georgia Public Broadcasting.
So you have a special connection to the library. Tell me about it.
I do. My mom was a librarian. So before we moved down south, but in New Jersey, my mom was a librarian in the small town that we lived in outside of Newark, called Vauxhall, New Jersey. And then we moved to Plainfield, where she went to this bigger library, just huge library. So books were always a part of my life. I started reading when I was like 3. And it's just really important. If you would come to my house, I have books stacked everywhere, including lots of books about jazz.
Well, can you recommend a few?
I can. I happen to have some right here. So look, for the beginner, I'm going to recommend Blues People. Let me get that light off of that. This is by Leroy Jones, also known as Amiri Baraka. But this is like the basics, the foundation, to know where this music came from. It came from us. And this is a fantastic book. Now, since we were talking about the women, and Billie Holiday is one of my all-time favorites. Sorry for that light on this, but here's one to start with, because there are lots of books about Billie Holiday, even her autobiography, Lady Sings the Blues. But it was like ghost written, and I've heard that it was just a lot of made up stuff in it. So this is a cool book because it's called The Many Faces of Lady Day. So, Billie Holiday was very photogenic, and, she had all these different looks. They said she was doing Black is Beautiful before it came into style, because she would wrap her head, she'd wear like African style earrings, and she just had a lot of different looks. But also, this sort of tells her story. There's also a documentary about this, based on this book, The Many Faces of Lady Day. And I think it's on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. So here's the last one. This is what I'm reading right now. So look up this pianist. His name is Hampton Hawes. He has this really interesting story. Somebody needs to do a documentary on him. But the book, and he's a West Coast artist, because, you think about most of the jazz artists that we know, that everybody's from the East Coast. Well, he's a California artist. Hampton Hawes' book title is called Raise Up Off Me. Don't you like that title?
Thank you. I'll make sure to check it out. I do like that title. It feels like it sets the tone.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what you're going for.
Very interesting story. And there's some connects to him with John F. Kennedy, too. So very interesting.
Well, thank you for that.
Sure.
So finally, we want to know, what is our favorite jazz radio show host? What are you up to now? What can people look forward to?
Well, what I'm doing right now, when I left GPB, I think it was like maybe a month, and I got a phone call. Hey, I need a Latin jazz host. I was like, okay. Because like I said, on the Jazz Spot, I played a little bit of everything. So I'm now doing a Latin jazz show called Latin Soul, the Latin Jazz Edition. It's a block. It's actually a 5-hour block of Latin music. I do the jazz portion. And you might remember this name, Gila Gonzalez. She used to be on the radio at GPB doing a show called Latin Beat. Gila does the bilingual version behind me. So Gila and I just knock it out I got to tell the station, it's KPVU. That's at Prairie View A&M University in Prairie View, Texas.
Well, Masani, thank you so much for interviewing with me. And it's so great to see you again. I'm so glad that you're still doing your jazz radio and living your best life. And I love that you have such a connection to the library.
Thank you for this opportunity, Rachel. And just so great to see you. And thanks for thinking of me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Well, I appreciate you, and we will have you back again soon.
I'd be honored.
To listen to my full interview with Masani, make sure to download Focal Library's podcast, Checking Out Focal Library, available everywhere podcasts are downloaded. March is known for celebrating many things, such as National Peanut Butter Day, National Write a Letter of Appreciation Week, and Read Across America Day. So I swung by the Sandy Springs Library to see what Alan had planned for this year's Read Across America Day.
What is the first thing, if you're thinking about food and you're thinking about Dr. Seuss, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Green eggs and ham, of course. The Sandy Springs branch, I am the circulation supervisor, so we do a lot of book shelving and receiving and everything that comes in for like patron holds and stuff like that. We get a massive amount of crates every morning, so we unpack all of that and get all that sorted out, and a lot of phone answering. We do all kinds of things, but this is very much a step outside of our normal routine, and it's something that it's fun, but it takes a lot of planning. The demo that I just did was actually pretty quick, but it took a lot of figuring out how the steps were going to go and getting the ingredients together and coming up with a script and knowing exactly when I was going to do what parts of it. So it's a lot, and it's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's just a nice way to break up what we normally do here in the library. Today I am working on one of our virtual programming. I'm part of the team called Let's Get Cooking, so we do cooking demos and food information and things like that for our Facebook page, and I'm working on a dish for Dr. Seuss Day. So I'm putting together a thing where people can take these really simple recipes and maybe do a Dr. Seuss themed party around it. So I decided to I looked through a couple of different things, one of them being the Green Eggs and Ham cookbook that we have here in the library. And I did a drink and a main dish. So of course it's Dr. Seuss, so you have to do green eggs and ham. So I did mine as deviled eggs, which I called Grinched eggs. And I've got my ham here, and then I made moose juice, which is one of the drinks that is mentioned in the Dr. Seuss sleep book. So I took that and made a little thing out of it, and it's super yummy. Read Across America Day is something that kind of goes along with Dr. Seuss Day, and it's a day that encourages kids to pick up books and read them. And an entire day is dedicated to reading a book. And last year we did sort of a virtual one where different staff members did a video recording us reading a book, and it went the entire day. And it was so much fun to be part of. If you want to check out some of our virtual programming, just go to our Facebook page, which is Fulco Library, and you'll see playlists of all of our past programs. Let's Get Cooking, we have DIY crafts, we have story times, we have all sorts of things. So take a look at our Facebook page, dig around through some of our past programs, and I hope to see you upcoming for new programs. I hope you're ready for Dr. Seuss Day. Cheers, and enjoy your party. And I'll see you next time on Let's Get Cooking.
As we wrap up today's show, it's important that we touch base on one of the most important subjects for the month of March. And the subject is Women's History Month.
Women's History Month is a month to spotlight and celebrate the contributions of women to history, culture, and society. Before Miss Rosa Parks decided to give up her seat on the bus, before the Freedom Riders rolled into the Deep South, there was Devi Johnson Roundtree. She was one of the first Black women to break racial barriers in the U.S. Army. She was a fierce attorney in the segregated courtroom of Washington, D.C., and she was a minister. There are a few other amazing accomplishments that you need to see, that you need to read about, and you can pick it up in this book. It is called Mighty Justice, the untold story of civil rights trailblazer Devi Johnson Roundtree. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Taryn Gilliam, Branch Group Administrator for the Fulton County Public Library System. For Women's History Month, I would like to highlight Miss Mary Lou Williams. Mary Lou Williams was a pianist, arranger, composer, and probably the most influential woman in the history of jazz. She was not only the first lady of jazz, she has a place at the very top echelon of the jazz community. Miss Williams wrote over 350 compositions throughout her rich and highly eclectic musical career. She also helped spawn an entire generation of young musicians during the 1940s that was precipitated by the birth of one of the world's most influential musical styles, known as bebop. Her students included musicians as influential and varied as Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker, and countless others. Unlike most of the other famous women in jazz who have been singers, like Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, Williams was instead a phenomenal pianist who performed solo with small groups and in big bands. She is actually well known today as a composer and arranger of remarkable versatility and power. In 1964, Mary founded Mary Records to release her own self-produced album. She stated, "No one would record me, so I decided to record myself." Mary Lou Williams returned to the jazz world fully in 1970 and remained there for the rest of her life. She appeared in concert and at workshops in colleges, at jazz festivals, in clubs, on recordings, on radio and television. In her last 4 years, she maintained a full professional schedule of appearances while functioning as artist in residence at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. To this day, she remains one of the most historically significant and influential women in jazz. In the final year of her life, before she passed away in 1981 at 71 years of age, she formed the Mary Lou Williams Foundation. You can find a copy of her wonderful biography titled Morning Glory by Linda Dahl. It is available within the Fulton County Public Library system, which can be located at www.fulcolibrary.org. Thanks.
Hi everyone, welcome to this video where I review a book for Women's History Month. The book I am reviewing is called Primates, The Fearless Science of Jane Goodall, Dian Fossey, and Birute Galdakis. My name's Leanne Wagner. I'm a librarian here at the Milton Library, part of Fulton County Library System. So this graphic novel is great. It is a young adult book. It is very short, it's nonfiction, and the medium of comics does a really great job of letting you jump in to the work of these women and then easily jump out and then to see what the next scientist is up to. So, as we get from the title, this book, one of the subjects is Jane Goodall. And everyone needs a favorite scientist. Mine just happens to be Jane Goodall. There she is. She did a lot of work with chimps, and if you read this book, you'll get to see chunks of that work. Really the beginning of her story. It's really great, kind of humble origin story, and she really went for it. She took a risk and she did it, and now she's like one of the most famous scientists out there. She's talking to people all over the world about conservation. If you want to know a little bit more about Jane Goodall and her introduction to chimpanzees, check out this book. I think you will really enjoy it. And thanks again for celebrating Women's History Month with the Fulton County Library System. Definitely go to fulcolibrary.org. You can place your hold on this book. Primates, again, The Fearless Science of Jane Goodall, Dian Fossey, and Birute Galdakis.
Thank you for joining us at Fulco Library Presents The Library Access. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Fulco Library. And visit us at fulcolibrary.org. I'm your host, Rachel Sanders, and I'll see you next time.